welcome to Healing After Infant Loss. My name is Rosie, and in today's video we're talking to Yari, who is a licensed mental health counsellor in the state of Florida. And in this video we're talking about emotions, so which emotions come up during infant loss, how can we manage lots of different emotions and difficult emotions, and also what advice does she have for friends and family who know somebody who is navigating infant loss. So this video is full of lots of information, lots of advice, and I really hope you find comfort in this video. Hi Yari, welcome to Healing After Infant Loss. Thank you so much for being here today. Would you like to introduce yourself and talk about what you do and who you are a little bit for the audience?
Yes, hi Rosie, and thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Yari Sequeira. I go by Yari. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I have been working in the field of counseling for over a decade and some more. I knew since very young that this is what I wanted to do, and I've had the blessing of working with different populations, inmates, court-ordered clients, families, sexual offenders, substance use, the homeless. Since 2018, I've been in private practice. And in private practice, I've been servicing those in the day-to-day, weekly routine of life, addressing life changes, stressors, relationships, self-esteem, anxiety, depression, and all the fun stuff that comes with living.
So you've got a whole wealth of knowledge, which is why I'm so excited that you're here. The first topic I'd like to talk about is the emotions that might come with infant loss, because I think unless you go through infant loss, it might be hard to relate to maybe how difficult it actually is. So can you talk about some of the emotions that people might feel when dealing with any kind of form of infant loss?
So there are a couple of emotions that can come up, and some of them are even contrasting. So usually the first one is shock and denial. Shock and denial of, I can't believe this is happening, and this cannot be true. Maybe there was a mistake. And depending on how the loss came to be, there is a whole bunch of other series of events that take place and that are important. So for instance, if it was an unexpected miscarriage and the mother just woke up and she was bleeding and she went to the hospital and they told her that, she could be in shock and denial and say, no, it cannot be true. Just check again, double check, like I still feel something. And there's a lot of shock and denial there. If it was an abortion, then it's a little bit of a different process because the mother is already going to know what to expect of the process. Nevertheless, it's still shocking and you're still in a process of denial that you're actually going through it. And then it tends to be so quick that you're like, did that just happen? And there's a process of adjusting to all that as well. And when it comes to a process of stillbirth, then there's a whole slew of other emotions because you've just given birth and you're like, what? Like what? It cannot be. Like I want to see my child. So there's different layers within the shock and denial that can come through depending on how the mother experiences. Nevertheless, it is going to be present. There's also grief, anger. There is fear about the future, like what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my relationship? What does this mean for the family idea and the concept that we had and our expectations? There could also be feelings of isolation and withdrawal because maybe you're the first person in the family that is experiencing that and you're like, nobody understands, or I feel shame or embarrassment of what just happened, and what are people going to think? Are they going to say it's my fault? Maybe I think it's my fault as the mother. So there's a bunch of different stuff that can come up. And within all that, there's guilt. There's going to be a phase of guilt where maybe if I would have done this or I wouldn't have done that. And again, there could be some contrasting emotions. So you could experience, for instance, resentment towards what could have happened or didn't happen. And at the same time, forgiveness, understanding that whoever was involved might have done the best they could, right? Whether it was the medical team, whether it was your partner or your family or even yourself. There could be contrasting emotions around strength and vulnerability, that you want to show up maybe for your partner in I am okay, don't worry about it, it's fine, but there's so much vulnerability within you that's happening and you don't know how to address it. For some parents, if there was a lot of pain and maybe an illness or disease involved, there could be strong sensations of pain and grief, and at the same time a sense of relief, because now you know that that child is not in pain or is not suffering, or that that infant is not going to go through all these things that they said the child would go through. So there's a lot of different things and emotions that can come together and can be ups and downs in the midst of a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, I remember feeling all of these because I've been through multiple losses, and I think one of them that probably comes a little bit later on as well is jealousy and like envy of friends or family members who just get pregnant and then they have a healthy pregnancy and then the baby comes out and everything's fine, and there's a lot of that kind of why me, like why did this happen to me, what did I do wrong, why are they okay and I'm not okay. And I think that's also, it's probably not one of the initial emotions, but definitely was one that I felt for a couple of years, I would say. And even just seeing random pregnant people in the street, I'd be like, fuck you. And it sounds really bad, but I really was so angry and so jealous, and there's just so many emotions there.
Yeah, and it's very true, and it's very normal because, for instance, you had so much hope and you had so much, maybe for some parents it's been a long time waiting, right? And then when it finally happens, you're like, what? And then you go into fear and anxiety about what does this mean for the future? Is this going to happen every time? And envy. Why do I see other women that are going through it so smoothly, and why couldn't I do it, right? So there's a lot of why couldn't I? And it's unfair. And there's a lot of that in the way as well.
What can we do if we feel multiple emotions? How can we manage them? Because there's so many emotions that come up. Like you said, there's kind of the sadness, there's the guilt, there's the anger, maybe sometimes there's relief, because honestly being pregnant and having a baby and raising a child is also scary. And like even if you wanted the pregnancy, it still could also feel like a relief. How do we manage all of these emotions that come up, and how are people supposed to navigate that? Because I guess there's no right or wrong way, but do you have any advice?
Yeah, there isn't. So from a clinical lens, know that whatever you experience is quite normal. And there's no wrong way to go about it, because you are going to experience whatever needs to come up for you based on your background, your experiences, your upbringing, your belief system. So there's no wrong way of going about it. Having said that, if you understand that contrasting emotions are normal, then it's going to make a little bit more sense. Instead of like, oh, I feel so weird, like how can I feel this and feel that at the same time? Contrasting emotions are very normal, and they apply to every major category of life experience, right? So that's very normal. If you have the accessibility of talking to somebody, whether it is a priest, whether it is a therapist, whether it is a rabbi, whether it is a safe family member, then talking and processing is very helpful. Therapy, of course, is one of the safe spaces because there are different modalities that could come into service: grief counseling, parts counseling, and parts have to do with acknowledging that there are different parts of you that want to express different things, right? So there's the woman in you that is like, oh, now I get to be a woman, just me again. Oh, maybe there's a sense of relief because I was stressing about being a mother, the type of mother, because I had fears about motherhood. And the woman in you is like, okay, we can try later. And maybe there's another part of you that is the mother role that says, I cannot believe we're going through this. Like, no, I refuse. I'm in denial. I don't want this, right? There is another part of you that might be the partner that says, let's focus on our partnership, and it's okay, we can pull through this together, and we can go back to us, and we're gonna figure it out. So there are different parts of you, different roles that could be acknowledged all at once. And that's also very important from the parts perspective, because we're not just one role in our life, we're multiple roles, and each role comes with emotions and ways of thinking and needs and expectations. So just know that that's very normal. Another way that you can assist and support yourself through the process is by honoring the memory of that child, of that infant, of the baby, the process that you went through, and coming together with a little ritual or with a little ceremony that means something to you, and that you either share it or not with others. It's for you and for you alone, and with your partner, of course, if they're part of this. And that's usually very helpful because it's acknowledging what happened and giving it the validity and the importance and the relevance that it has in your life, and also expressing the love through it. In energetics, energy doesn't disappear, it just transforms. Therefore, when you are honoring that, even though I might not see or feel here in the 3D, but I can still feel and see in my eyesight, in my mind, in my visuals, then I could have that with me always. And that could be something that could be supportive through this process. There are, of course, resources, books, podcasts, support groups that are available. Self-care. You want to engage in different acts of self-care, again, for the different roles, and acknowledging that maybe one day you feel like doing this and the next day you don't feel like doing that. You feel like doing something else, right? So small acts of self-care can also be very helpful.
I remember, I think self-care was one of the hardest things for me because I almost was annoyed at my body for what had happened. So I was like, well, you know, screw you, I'm not going to look after myself because you betrayed me almost. It's like a weird, yes. I don't know what the word is, like disconnect between who you are and what your body like did to you, almost as if it did something to you. So I think that was also something when I moved to Miami and started doing yoga and meditation, all these different practices, I connected with my body again, and it was so bizarre because there was this kind of disconnect of like, you did this to me, I don't like you, I'm going to treat you badly. And then I just wanted to know about yoga, meditation and other kind of healing practices, and I think through that it kind of connected the me and the body of me as well. So what are your thoughts on that?
So that is also very important. Thank you for bringing that up. There are actually modalities that specifically focus on the womb, right? So there's yoga, there's womb yoga, where it targets specific areas of your body so that you can reconnect and go through that process with a guided facilitator that's going to allow you to feel the support you need and to express the emotions that might come up for you in that space. It is very common for you to reject your body, and it's part of the shock and denial and the guilt. And this is where belief system comes into play too, because depending on what you believe, you're going to give an explanation to what happened. So if you believe your body did not have your back, the intensity around the emotions of anger might feel a little bit more heightened than if you believe that whatever happened, even if you don't understand it, has to have some sort of explanation that was for the well-being or the spiritual being of everybody involved. So belief system also plays a role, and sometimes it's an invitation for you to see, where are you at with your belief system?
What would you say to maybe friends and family who are watching this who haven't experienced the infant loss and dealing with somebody who's going through the grief of a pregnancy loss and their emotions? How can you help them through that? Because I know that when I went through it, I was either a total bitch to a lot of people, or I would really numb myself and block myself and would kind of like push people away almost because I didn't want to feel any more pain. So how can family members and friends support people with their emotions and what they're going through?
So a little bit of psychoeducation for the families. Because there could be so many emotions involved, it's important for them to keep in mind that the person going through it might not even know what's going to be their feels, what's going to be in their feels. They might not know. So don't take it personal. There are a few words and statements that are not recommended to be used, like, you know, you're going to get past this, or you can have another baby. Those are usually things you don't want to say. Nevertheless, if for whatever reason you find yourself saying something that later you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that, just go and be honest with the person and say, you know, I really don't know what to say. I have never experienced this. I don't know what it could be like. Just know that I'm here for what you need. So let me know what you need. And sometimes the person might need not to talk to you. And that could be okay, right? Sometimes the person might say, okay, give me a hug, and 5 minutes later say, no, too much. I can't, right? So just don't take it personal. Know that it's going to be a roller coaster of different emotions coming through. And also sometimes the emotions are not even related as much to the loss. It could be about experiences from their own childhood and their own memories with their own parents, maybe with their mother, that could come up through this experience. So there could be some projecting that could be happening. So it's not personal at all. Just be honest and say, whatever you need, let me know.
I think that was something as well that was kind of important. There was, you know, a few people that say things like, well, at least you had the miscarriage now rather than later on in pregnancy, or well, at least you can get pregnant. And I think all those kind of at least, it kind of takes away from the pain that somebody might be feeling, and just, you know, like you said, you know, I'm here for you if you want to talk about it, I think is a much more kind of open and compassionate way of allowing someone to talk to you or not, rather than trying. I think a lot of the time we try and heal people, try and help them or help them see the silver lining, and it doesn't always help, I don't think.
Yeah, right. So, and for the person receiving it, for the mother, for the parent, for the person receiving it, also keep in mind that they might not know what to say. You might want them to say something that you don't even know what it is you want them to say, and then they mess it up and you're like, oh, I can't believe they said that. Just keep in mind also that they might not know.
Yeah, I think everyone's just doing their best as well. They're trying their best to comfort you and, you know, try and make it better, but sometimes it can not not be, you know, received as they might expect it to be.
Exactly. And the reality is we're not taught how to respond to situations like this. Society has not taken the time to make it a standard information out there of, hey, like this happens, and when this happens, if you don't know what to say this or don't say that. If it hasn't happened in your reality, you probably never hear about it. So society doesn't support how to address situations that are so overwhelming.
Yeah, that's so true. Is there anything else that you think we need to know about emotions around infant loss that you think you could share with the audience?
So I think there are layers that happen with any type of loss, right? And in this particular category of infant loss, there are going to be layers about the loss itself, about body image, so your connection with your body, relationships with your own nuclear family and experiences around childhood, and your concept of womanhood or maternity based on societal standards, and so many other things in between. So when you experience something that feels so overwhelming, allow yourself to remember that there are layers to these phases of grief and to these bottled up sensations and emotions that could be dissected for you to manage them, or feel that you're managing a little bit more, that you're just responding a little better, knowing that it's not just all about one thing. No, there's a slew of things that come and can come with a loss. And be kind to yourself, be gentle, and that's why talking to somebody would be very helpful.
Okay. Thank you so much for being on the Healing After Infant Loss YouTube channel and podcast. I will leave all of your information in the description box down below. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I really hope you enjoyed this conversation with Yari. Before we end the video, I want to share the affirmation of the week and also the book of the week. So the affirmation is, I allow myself to feel my emotions fully, knowing that each feeling is a step towards healing. And I think, having talked about the emotions in this video, all the emotions that might come up, such as guilt, shame, jealousy, shock, there might be sadness, there might be relief, there might be lots of different emotions here. And I think it's really important that we feel the emotions that we feel. You don't have to hide them away, you don't have to pretend they don't exist. It's really actually healthy to experience your emotions and to express them as well. So I'm going to read that again. I allow myself to feel my emotions fully, knowing that each feeling is a step towards healing. It's a nice reminder to give yourself permission to feel all of the feelings, as it's one step closer to healing. And the book recommendation for the week is It's Okay That You're Not Okay, Meeting Grief and Loss in a Culture That Doesn't Understand by Megan Devine. This is a compassionate guide for those navigating the profound grief that comes with loss. Megan, a psychotherapist who experienced her own deep loss, offers understanding and validation for the wide range of emotions that come with grief. This book is particularly helpful for those who feel overwhelmed by their emotions, offering practical advice and empathy that acknowledges the depth of loss without trying to fix it. So I think that could be a really great book if you are experiencing grief at the moment, and if you would just like a little bit of a helping hand in figuring out your emotions and just understanding that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be struggling, it's okay to be sad, to be angry, to be jealous. It's okay to have all these emotions, but how can we navigate our way through them and come out the other end? So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please subscribe for more videos. Share this video with somebody who might find it helpful, maybe somebody experiencing infant loss or a friend or family who knows somebody who is. I'm going to be providing lots more videos and lots more content on this topic, so make sure you subscribe if this is something that interests you. You can follow along on TikTok and Instagram, and I'll also leave my website down below as well. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next video.